Hello everybody, this is 13 with Superior Mobile by 13. Today I need a string trimmer, so of course I bought all three of the options available to me in the Makita lineup for the 36 volt platform. The three that I purchased are the XRU 15PT, 17PT, and 18PT, and I did this just for basis of equal comparison, so all three of these packaged products come with the two 5 amp hour batteries and dual battery charger. Alternatively, if you wanted the tool only, the part numbers are very similar, being the XRU 18Z, 17Z, and 15Z. I don't necessarily know what the PT stands for, but I'm assuming party time because it comes with everything you need in order to get weed eating right out of the box. This 15 is a real popular model online. It's been reviewed a million times. Apparently it's one of the greatest weed eaters ever known to man that's battery operated, but I couldn't find nearly enough information on the 17 or the 18 for me to make an informed decision as to which one that I wanted. The XRU 15 is the 15-inch swath model. The XRU 17 and the 18 upgrades to a 17-inch swath. Associated price points right off the bat is $450 for this guy, $660 for this guy, and then $600 for the 18. Pricing, of course, will depend on your local area, any sales going on, and good old-fashioned inflation. So let's get these things opened. Okay, here they are all open, so I'm going to go nice and slow. This is the XRU 15. Something odd about that is that the batteries are already installed on the weed eater, but that doesn't really matter. There are the chargers. All three of these are going to have the chargers. There's the batteries, and then going alongside here, we've got the accessories in there and the bag, and there's the power head, and moving down, this is the 18. Same sort of setup, so it's pretty similar there. Okay, I'm going to go over all the accessories that come with each individual model. Before I do that, I want to emphasize the fact that I am not including the chargers and the batteries and the installation manuals, the warranty information, and that little propaganda brochure, because all three of these products have all of those same stuff. Right here we have the XRU 15, 17, and 18. All three of them have the exact same drawstring closure bag. All three of them have the exact same handle. So this handle is used across all three models, the only exception being that in the 17, it comes with this additional little doohickey, but this part is the same on all three of the models. Also, all three of the models come with the exact same pair of safety glasses, and safety glasses. So I guess you're supposed to wear safety glasses when you do yard work. On the 15, we have a fairly economical standard shoulder strap. It's got a little clip on it. This isn't really padded by any means. It's kind of a rubbery sensation. It's effective. It gets the job done. The 17 comes with this much fancier one. This thing is huge. It's got a harder sort of non-absorbent material on this side, and this side is very padded. I don't know if you can really see it through the packaging, but it's got maybe an inch of foam in there. Also has the clip on it, as mentioned on the other one. As you can see, it's metal with rivets, so this is definitely a really nice shoulder pad. That's on the 17, and on the 18, we have nothing. There is no strap that comes with the 18, which is pretty crazy. As far as the cutting head protection piece, the 15 has this guy. It's kind of a small thing, but again, this is a 15-inch swath on this model, so that makes sense. Moving on to the 17, we have something really big. It's quite large. I'd say easily double the size of the 15, but again, 17-inch cutting swath, so that makes sense. And then confusingly, when we go over to the 18, we have another small one. So it's technically larger than the 15, but only by a very small amount, and it is literally half the size of the 17. As far as hardware or tooling, the 15 comes with this piece and these two Allen heads, which I'm assuming are useful for the assembly and operation of the thing. The 17 comes with this, which is a pretty nice tool. Not really sure what it's for, but it looks really nice, and also an Allen wrench in it. And then finally, the 18 comes in with a single Allen wrench in this massively oversized bag, so thank you for that. And finally, the business end, the actual cutting heads themselves. The 15 uses this guy right here, which from what I understand on my preliminary research online, this is like the cheapest, worst part of this weed eater, and this is what you can replace very easily and cost effectively to make this a super fantastic string trimmer. Moving over to the 17 and the 18, they use the exact same head style, which is, well, it's this guy. You can definitely tell them side by side. That one's just definitely cheaper than this one. Okay, I've got the manuals out now, so let's compare some specifications specifications. The first specification is the handle type, and all three, like I've already shown you, use the exact same handle type of a loop handle. The next specification is the load speed. All of them have a low, medium, and high. The 15 starts at 3,500 and goes up to 6,500. Moving over to the 17, we've got 4,600 to 7,000. And finally, the 18 is 4,000 to 6,000. So all of those are pretty comparable within 500 RPM of each other, so I'm not really sure how much of a difference that will actually make in practicality. The overall length is different. The 15 is a 69.25 inch long, whereas the 17 and the 18 have a similar 72.5 inches long. The nylon cord diameter is the same for all three of them. It's 2.0 to 2.3 millimeters. However, the 18 for some reason only specs out a 2 millimeter. For the cutting head, the 18 is clearly only a string trimmer and specs out just that head. The 15 is clearly only a string trimmer and specs out that specific head. However, the 17 allows for multiple head interchanges because this can also double as a brush cutter. And the last specification of interest is the net weight. So I'm just going to use the maximum weight, which I'm assuming is going to be with the batteries. So our 15 weighs in at 10 pounds. Moving over to the 17, we're ending up at 13.9 pounds. And then that 18 is a 13.5 pounds. So I'm starting to figure out that the 15 and the 18 are string trimmer specifics, whereas the 17 is kind of like a multi-purpose workhorse. And the 18 is just a trimmed down version of that 17, $60 worth of parts and features that are not included. Here's the parts description of our XRU 15. As you can see, it's all of the parts that I've shown you on the table. Moving over to the 17, that's this one on the side here, and there's our parts breakdown. And then finally, this is the XRU 18, which is exactly what I've shown you, except no shoulder harness, which I still think is just weird. Reading through the manual, the main power switch section is all of the same on all three of the models. The switch action is all of the same on all of these models. Then we move on to the speed adjusting, the automatic torque drive technology, all of the same in all of the manuals. All of them have the reverse button for debris removal, the electric brake, also the electronic functions of constant speed control and soft start feature. All three of these have the exact same information in all of them. The only difference between them is the speeds that I've mentioned previously, and the fact that the 17 has a little bit extra blurb in there about if you put on a brush cutter blade onto this so that you can select that mode. But ultimately, the ability to put a brush cutter blade on the 17 is the only difference as far as the manual is concerned between all three of these models. After all of the feature descriptions, we get into assembly and how to properly use the tool. Regarding the handle installation and assembly, it's exactly the same between the 15 and the 18. However, that 17, remember, it's got that weird little dongle on there, and apparently that is referred to as a barrier, and it is a safety mechanism to prevent you from contacting the cutting blade accidentally. I don't fully understand how that little piece of plastic on the handle is actually going to prevent you from doing something absolutely silly, but there it is. All three of the models use the exact same hex wrench storage options available to you, both in the base of it and in the handle. Regarding the installation of the cutting head, the 15 is very straightforward, where you just tighten it on there with the Allen head, and the 18 is very similar in the fact that you just have to tighten on that cutting head and you're done. The 17, being an optional brush cutter, has 2 pages of instructions depending on the type of cutting head that you're going to put on, but then ultimately when it comes down to just installing the cutting head that uses nylon string, it takes a little bit of pre-game work in order to get the head on there, but it's also the same. Now, information regarding our shoulder harness. For the 15 and the 17, of course, it says right in the instructions that you should always use the shoulder harness, but the 18 doesn't even come with a shoulder harness, so that is not mentioned. The 15 is pretty straightforward. As you saw, it was a simple strap-on harness. It clicks on, and then it gives you this excellent little diagram so that you can accurately dial in where you should be comfortable. That's the 15. So then we come over to the 17. It's essentially the same instructions. It has the same graphic for that, but now I fully understand. It's actually got padded right there by your hips so that as the tool is pressing against you, it makes it much more comfortable. And that made me want to revisit the 2 shoulder straps here, because here's the first one. This is the XRU 15. It's just kind of a piece of rubber. It's not necessarily padded in any shape or form, but it will get the job done. And this one has this huge pad right here. This is to push up against your hip because it's nice and padded. It's got about maybe an inch worth of foam. And this is the shoulder pad itself, what's going across your shoulder. And this is probably 1/2 inch foam, not rubber, much softer, much squishier, and therefore that's going to be a lot more comfortable for you. So that concludes the owner's manual portion of this video. So let's move on to actually looking at the hardware itself. As you can see, the 15 is a significantly smaller body, style, and chassis than the other two models. The first thing I'll go over is the control interface. They do have, as far as I'm concerned, the same trigger mechanism. This is flat, and this one has a bit more of a curve to it. As far as the controls themselves, although this panel is slightly smaller than the other two, it is still technically the exact same functions. You can see that we've got the 1, 2, 3 and the reverse, and it's exactly the same. The only difference between these two is that we've got this additional indicators for what happens when you do a brush cutter attachment. But as evidenced by the owner's manuals, they all have the same functionality, and so therefore we should just basically consider these to all be the same buttons. The 17 does have a hook right there, whereas the 18 does not, because remember, the 18 doesn't use a shoulder strap, and on the 15 the attachment hook is located right here and rotates freely but does not move this way. Do you remember from the owner's manual that the 15 is just ever so slightly shorter? So here they are all lined up. Now they're on their sides, so you can see how the 15 is just really straightforward. The cutter head just screws right onto the bottom, easy cheesy. The 17's a little bit different, where you have to remove this assembly because this is if you're going to do the brush cutter heads, and the 18 is what this looks like after you remove that piece, and it's just again real straightforward. Just screw that on and then you've got yourself a string trimmer. Moving down the shafts, I don't know if there's really anything much more interesting to see. Here's our hex head storage, there's the hex head storage and the hex head storage. The 17 and the 18 both have this little storage hook right there, which is really nice for me as far as if you just want to throw a screw into the wall and then hang it. I don't necessarily see one for this particular model, the 15, and here we are looking down them. If there's anything on the other side that is of particular interest to you, then this is what they look like. Not that we have any say in the matter, but all three of these products are made in China. I was trying to find the center of gravity on each one, so I marked it where the stickers are. So on the 15, it's much lower, so I can pick up the entire thing from right there. The 17 and 18 are actually much closer to the base. You got to pick it up right there in order to get it fairly balanced. As we saw from the specifications, these two are much heavier than the 15, but with that center of mass further back, that means that it's held more by the strap on your shoulder, or not for the 18 because there is no shoulder strap. So trying to do a bit of a wrap-up conclusion sort of summary here, the 15 is definitely the smallest, lightest. It's got the motor down at the end as compared to the other two, which put the motor up at the top, which redistributes the weight. Technically, the other two have higher speeds and therefore are more powerful, but chances are that this one is plenty powerful enough for the average homeowner. The 17 is what you'd want to be using if you ever have the idea that you're going to want to do brush cutting occasionally, because it's brush cutting ready. Although you aren't going to have like the sweet bicycle style handles for the 17, you'd have to buy that separately. And the 18 is essentially the same as the 17, just without all of the potential brush cutting capabilities. So if you know that you're never going to do any brush cutting, but you don't want this 15, you can end up with this 18. All three of them have the exact same electronic controls and same features with that. And the final variable to consider is the fact that these two are slightly longer. And if you're a really tall person and you require a lengthy string trimmer, then perhaps that would be a very important variable for you to consider. Other than that, I'm pretty tapped on other things to compare between these two. I hope this video was useful for you, and I hope that hopefully you can make a conclusion yourself as to which ones you are interested in, and you can make an informed purchase yourself. I'm not going to do any in-action usage of these. I'm not going to go weed eat a yard or whatever. That's what other YouTubers are for. This is simply an out-of-box product comparison and feature description. So if you are to buy one of these, then you are going to know exactly what to expect when you open that box. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these three products. Makita is a super solid, reputable brand, and although they're certainly not on the cheap ends of weed eaters, they're definitely going to last you a long time and give you some really killer performance. So with all that being said, choose wisely. This is 13 with Superior Mobile by 13. Thank you so much for watching. You have yourself a wonderful day, all right? I'll talk to you later. See ya.